Hey guys, back with another video here. I'm going to talk about feeling. From my personal experience, I wasn't very good at this in the beginning. I really struggled with just feeling happy or positive or anything. I just was living life and not really paying attention to anything. And so when I became aware that the feeling is the most important aspect when you're trying to change habits, right? Because every feeling subconsciously creates an impression. And unless you can make an opposite and more powerful feeling, it's the only way you can suppress the negative feeling. So for instance, like I am healthy is a stronger feeling than I will be healthy. Right? I hope you can understand that. I am healthy is a stronger feeling than I will be healthy. Right? So as we're going through this journey and we're having these feelings, and they're usually a lot easier in the beginning to have a feeling attached to our program. So if your program's mostly negative, you're really gonna have easy time attaching a strong emotional feeling to the negative thoughts that are coming into your mind, then trying to change and bring a positive thought in and attaching feeling to it, right? It's very difficult to do in the beginning. But what you need to understand is the goal is to not give any feeling attachment to any negative thought, period. So you really have to stand guard at your mind constantly every time a negative thought comes in, right? So a negative or positive, doesn't matter. When a thought comes in, it just is. You have to attach feeling, whether that's positive or negative. You get to decide. You have all the power. But if you let the program run, you're just going to unconsciously do what you've been doing. Right? In the beginning, we're trying to use the 5% of the day that's conscious, where we're aware of what we're thinking or speaking or trying to learn when we're studying, like we're consciously aware when we're reading, for the most part. Unless you're just doing it because someone told you to do it and you're not really into it, right? Then you'll be going off on thought trips. But when you're consciously focused and aware of what's going on and you have an intention put into your task, you're conscious, right? Your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind, it doesn't get to choose anything. It just has to accept whatever your conscious mind impresses upon it as the truth. And your subconscious mind just accepts that, right? This is what's going on. We keep having thoughts come in, right? We keep attaching feeling to those thoughts. Those thoughts eventually make it down to our subconscious as an impression. If you do it enough times, it becomes a habit. It just is automatic, right? That's where that 66-day thing comes in, right? Day 66, you really start to go from conscious to unconscious, the connections you've made, right? That's why I did the 90-day thing, because I don't want any ifs, ands, or buts. You just, 90 days, you're safe. You don't have to worry about, oh, I did 67 days. Like you want to make sure it's a solid connection, right? So you're trying to stay conscious as much as possible when you're changing these habits. So remember, thought comes in. You have the power. I'm not going to attach any negative feeling to that. I'm going to not accept that. You can do that in your conscious mind. You can accept or reject. It's your thinking mind. Creative. Everything starts up there. Now what happens is when we're letting the program run, it doesn't take hardly anything to impress your subconscious when you're not conscious. Right? We just let it slip right in. We've said it so many times. We've attached a feeling to it so many times. We're not even paying attention to what's going on. Pretty soon, boom, that's a belief. I mean, this stuff is super simple once you understand what you've been doing and how it happened. Now, we're standing guard in our mind. We're not just going to let things come in and not pay attention to what's going on. And we're going to start rejecting some of these things. Right? And in the beginning, it's uncomfortable. Right? You start going along on these journals with me and you start doing a couple of these journals, now you're, 120, 180, you're really making new connections. You're changing things that are going on inside of you. You're not attaching negative feelings to anything anymore. You're really doing a lot of work, and all of a sudden you start to feel differently. You start to talk different. The way you interact with people is different, right? You're starting to change your personality, right? We set these ginormous goals so that we have to change. And in the midst of having to change, we have to go through these steps. We have to become aware of what's going on. We have to know where we're at. Once we know where we're at, we can start paying attention to what we're just letting happen that we're not paying attention to. So you're paying attention, thought comes in. I'm not accepting that. You can also create thought, right? You don't have to just wait for something to float in or something to happen and it make a thought. You can actually sit down and create thought, right? We're extremely powerful. We get to write our own life story. But until you're aware of that, life seems like a struggle. Once you start to become aware of the truth, that's why I'm going so slow and so basic so everybody understands exactly what's going on. We don't need to worry about all of the scientific stuff and the how and the when. We don't need to worry about none of that. None of that, all that stuff does is keep you gathering more information. It stops you from taking actions. I want you taking actions immediately. So as these thoughts come in, you're starting to pay attention more. Okay, I don't accept that. I don't like that. Here's where I want to go. You created this wonderful fantasy. I'm going to try to my best to give the most feeling to this huge fantasy that I created positive. I'm going to try and fall in love with this idea. Now, as you're falling in love with this idea, all your past stuff starts going away. Your mind is now dominated with this one idea that you really want. It doesn't have room for all of this old stuff to be popping up all the time. It's going to try because your paradigm doesn't like to change. It wants to keep you safe. That's the unknown. So you're trying as hard as you can to attach amazing amounts of good feeling towards this fantasy. Now we're starting the repetition. 1 day turns into 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, right? We keep doing this every day. Pretty soon, 90 days goes by and you've changed yourself. Now you have so many new cells attached to this idea that are just going crazy. It's an electrical switching station up here. It's just like a thunderstorm. Like you're lighting up. You're obsessed, or you're almost obsessed, or you're getting closer to being obsessed with this amazing goal that you've set and created this huge fantasy with feeling. Feeling is the secret. We can't just keep seeing this thing and talking about this thing without getting emotionally involved. And the more emotionally involved in this thing you can get, the better. Pretty soon, your days are all, your reticular activating system is fired up, your habit changed, your belief changed, and everything's all about heading this way to this fantasy that you created. And all of the things that have happened and all of the things you used to worry about and all the I don't have this or I'm not good enough for that, none of that all just floats away. And you're hyper focused, right? And where attention goes, energy flows. And so now more energy is constantly being drawn to this fantasy that you created. That is the simplest form on what we're trying to do here. And then pretty soon you look back in a year or 6 months, or, sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes less, action, reaction. The more energy you can give and the more time you can give, it compounds as it comes back to you. If you give the bare minimum, it adds. If you give a lot of energy, it multiplies. It starts multiplying. multiplying the cells, multiplying your vibration, multiplying the results that are coming back to you. Pretty soon, everyone's like, oh, I had this quantum leap. It's like, yeah, because you were locked in and focused, and you were intentional, and you were driven. You get rewarded for that. When you're doing the bare minimum and hoping that watching one video a day and reading a paragraph and doing the bare minimum, you're adding, right? You're moving, but not very quickly. So sorry, this is a longer video, but this has to be broken down to the minutest, simplest form. So everyone, from someone who just found me to someone who, and a lot of times I find people that get super too involved in depth and all of the things that are really going on, right? They think they know too much. And it's all these little things I'm having you do. It's like practicing a sport, right? You ever heard a coach say, get back to the basics, get back to the fundamentals. And this guy's been playing sports his whole life, right? But he got lazy in the little things, thinking he knows all of this stuff. And it catches up to you. You get exposed. You forgot about all the building blocks that got you to where you were, that you need to keep doing. So, not trying to go off on a rant. I really want you guys to understand, because once this clicks for some of you, and everything starts to change. It's just amazing. So, thanks guys. Have a wonderful day.